Wait, what is this? I actually read sci-fi? Like, this isn't only a fantasy channel? When I say I do sci-fi and fantasy, I'm not lying anymore. Project Hail Mary, or as Alan would say, skadoosh. Damn, this was good. So this was my first Andy Weir book, and I read it because a lot of people who I know were giving it 5 stars and 9.5 out of 10 and 10 out of 10. And I went in with some pretty damn high expectations, and my expectations were met. I absolutely loved this book. I thought it was incredible, and I think it's one of those books I can recommend to almost anybody. But it's going to be extremely hard to review, because when I got to the end of the book and I said my favorite thing about the book, the implications of what I think Andy Weir does best is a spoiler for like halfway through the book. This is one of the hardest books I've ever had to spoiler-free review, because the stuff that makes it so good is the stuff I wasn't expecting. I would highly recommend going into this book as blind as possible. I wouldn't even read the back cover if I was you. Basically, this review is going to boil down to, trust me, read it. It's fantastic. Anyway, we are actually going to talk about it a little bit. So, I haven't read The Martian. I have seen the movie. And The Martian kind of had Space MacGyver. This also has Space MacGyver. Andy Weir's really good at writing Space MacGyver. That's just how it works. But basically, what I went in expecting this book is Space MacGyver, but with higher stakes. Like, basically The Martian, but with higher stakes, in that I expected it to be a person stuck alone on a ship. Okay, there is a person stuck alone on a ship. I got that. And I expected it to be, they have to do science stuff, except instead of to save themselves, they're trying to save, like, a lot of people. That's what I went in expecting. And at its most base level, that is technically a somewhat accurate description. But I think describing it like that would completely miss what actually makes this book so good. So I want you to keep in mind in this review, the thing this book does best is something I'm just going to not talk about. And you're going to have to trust me that there's an element on here that I just can't talk about. Probably a few. That's incredibly well done. So, one thing I can talk about is how well this book is paced. I started Project Hail Mary at 1 a.m. And I finished, and then I had work the next day. And then I finished the book like 24 hours after I started it. I started expecting to read like 20 pages, and I had to go to 100, and I had to like 120 really, and I had to stop. Like, it was hard to put down the book. I legitimately almost started this book at 1 a.m., pulled an all-nighter, and read it in one sitting. I would have been miserable at work the next day, so I'm kind of glad I didn't. But that's how well-paced this book is. It's one thing it's incredibly good at that kind of keeps you hooked is the type of plot twist where it isn't a reveal. It is a reveal, but it isn't like everything you've seen so far is a lie. It's a plot twist that raises stakes, or that basically you learn. It's the twist that the story's going to be better, basically, than you were expecting. And holy damn, Andy Weir is good at this kind of twist. There's a lot of them. There's so much interesting stuff going on. And I think in terms of the world building and ideas, in terms of like scale, this isn't amazing. Like, this isn't Dune, where Frank Herbert like completely built this new society thousands of years in the future, where like so much was fundamentally completely different than what we have. This is not that. It's set basically the slight future on Earth with some small changes. But what I love about the world building and ideas isn't their scale, it's how well thought out everything is. Like, so much research and attention to detail went into the ideas and sci-fi stuff and sci-fi elements in this book. It's so well done. And I can't talk about what those ideas are, but they're so well thought out, in my opinion, and it's fantastic. And as he is with The Martian, Andy Weir is very good at, having his character be Space MacGyver and having it be interesting. And even though he might be solving his problems with math and science, it doesn't feel like science class. And it's really interesting, the way he goes about it. And Andy Weir is extremely gifted at writing this. I think the main character gave off weirdly similar vibes to Dresden in terms of personality. Except, like, not in all aspects, but in terms of, like, his kind of sense of humor, I feel like it's a weird overlap between the two, except obviously Dresden isn't sci-fi, but Dresden kind of thinks of magic in a way that a scientist thinks of science. And he has similar sense of humor. Anyway, our main character, who's Ryland Grace. Basically, I'll tell you what the premise is for chapter 1. Ryland Grace wakes up somewhere alone, and it looks like he's been asleep for a long time, and there's 2 dead bodies next to him, which he's sad about, and he's sad about seeing them, but he doesn't remember why. He has very, very, very little memories of, like, basically none about anything about his history, but his, like, functional memory, like his knowledge of tasks are still equally good. So, like, he's still just as good at, like, physics, which is a type of amnesia. I forget the name of it. Don't hurt me. I don't know the name of anything. Of everything. I know the name of some things. And it's split in you have present time and you have flashbacks, and you see the flashbacks as he remembers things. And the way the flashbacks were handled in this story, in my opinion, is exceptionally well done flashbacks. I loved the way it was handled. This would have been so much worse at a linear story if he'd kind of ended up where he was on page 1 on, like, the 3rd point. There's more in present time than there's more, like, with him alone. I guess I can say he's in space, right? Like, the cover. He's in a spacesuit, whatever. Alone in space. But, yeah, and then you kind of get some flashbacks. Ryland, a lot of people have said he's basically Mark Watney who doesn't swear. I kind of see it. I haven't read The Martian, so I can't talk about book Mark Watney, but there are things people have said that compare the books that agree with what I would say from movie to book, and that is that I think Ryland has more of a character arc, aside from just being an entertaining personality. And we get to some stuff that I can't talk about because spoilers. Damn, this book, it's hard to tell you why it's so good without spoilers, guys. This is one of those, you just have to trust me. You just have to read it. It's really good, and I feel like it has insane mass appeal. So yeah, and it is really a page turner. It's one of the most unput-downable books that I've read in a long time, and it's definitely made me excited for Andy Weir's other books, and presumably there's going to be a movie for this, and I need it now. Please, thank you. Anyway, so, like, it's legitimately hard to talk more about this book. Some of the characters, like in the flashbacks, I really like the characterization of side characters. I really like Strat, who, I mean, I can't talk about. Damn, this is hard. I'll talk about what I thought of the ending, not like giving away anything about the tone of the ending. I think this was ended effectively perfectly. Like, after, when you read a book and you read the ending and you're like, this is how the ending had to be. That's how I felt about Project Hail Mary. So I'm just going to tell you what my score is. This was a 9.4 out of 10. Basically neck and neck with Tigana for how much I liked it. And obviously you know how much I liked that book. Liked them for very, very different reasons. They're very, very different books. But they're both so brilliant. I feel like this almost has more mass appeal, where I feel like almost anyone could enjoy this. It might be a go-to recommendation to non-reader friends to get them into reading. Yeah, anyway, I wish I could talk about it more, but so many aspects of it that I'd love to talk about give away so much. It's just, this book had heart, man. Like, this book had some emotional moments and some heart. This isn't just like, oh, cool solution, funny protagonist. This hit you in the feels. This had me fist pumping. This had me invested. This story has a lot to... This just... It has heart. That's the only thing I can say about it. So basically, the review is read the damn book.